Hi, and welcome to the Mike and Travis Sports Podcast. My name is Travis.
And I'm Mike, and today was the third day of Patriots training camp. We've been there every day. It's been a good time. Yesterday was not so great, so it's definitely a better experience than yesterday. It was the first day in pads. There was a ton of physicality, a ton. It was awesome. It was good to see real football out there again.
Yeah.
Some news coming off yesterday was Nate Byham, the tight end that they got in from the Bills. He was coming off of an ACL tear from last year. They actually cut him. He did not make it to camp today. Not really that surprising, just because the fact that they have a lot of depth at the tight end, as far as in camp, not really on the roster as far as going to the season. But
yeah, I wouldn't say it like it was. It was not surprising, but I would also say like then you get to finish training camp. That's kind of not exciting, you know.
Yeah.
It's nice to see some guys, like come in. We understand you might not be good enough to make the roster, but it's nice to see people in training camp. They do have those fun times. There's some players that we've seen come to training camp, and we have funnier memories from them. Remember when Joseph Adai came in for a day and then left last year?
Yeah, it's a grand old time. So like I said, there was a lot of physicality today. Edelman again in the middle of another little shoving match between him and Malcolm Butler. Basically, there was a downfield block, and both of them were going at it a little bit, jawing back and forth. At the end of the day, it's all football. It's all fine. Malcolm Butler slapped him on the butt after, and let him go back to the huddle.
I thought this one was a little bit more clear, it was just competing. But yesterday's one was kind of nice, it seemed like they were really pissed at each other. They didn't bump heads or anything after, high five each other. It was literally just straight. Nobody stopped anything, but it seemed like this one it was a little bit better. Edelman was okay, accepting that sometimes he does realize that he gets a little bit into it. But that's what we like to see in our Patriot players. I like to see the physicality. I don't want to see us just in practice go oh yeah, good game, yeah, good nice block. I want to see people get fired up and scream and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's why a lot of people like Brady's emotion when he's on the field. He did it today again when Devlin had a touchdown on the goal line, and Brady was fired up. It was crazy.
Screaming.
Yeah.
You could hear it from the stands. But see, the thing is, people think in the practice, when they start getting into fights with each other, it's not good for the chemistry. But think about this, all right? I don't know how many of you have seen the Bill Belichick Football Life documentary on NFL Network. It replays a lot, you probably could see it once in a while if you guys have DVR. Search it one day and record or something. It's really a documentary. And Bill Belichick used to get pissed at his players if they never greet each other after they make a good play. I remember this one play. I believe it was Gerard Mayo made a tackle in the backfield. Nobody came near him, high-fiving or anything. They were just kind of watching him do it. And Bill Belichick legit paused at that moment in the screen and said, "Why is nobody over there congratulating him?" He likes to see that fire in his players because it shows that they have emotions. You use them. You're better off keeping it out on the field than keeping it off the field.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, definitely a lot of competition. It was very nice to see. Actually, Malcolm Butler, the guy we were just talking about, that fought with Edelman, a cornerback, not really well known, but he was showing a lot of great potential today. Definitely sticking with a lot of receivers, even though they were lower on the depth chart, what was his name? Johnson.
Derek Johnson. He had one good play on LaFell, though. That was impressive.
Yeah, he was keeping up with a lot of receivers. Derek Johnson from Maine, the wide receiver, he was keeping up with him most of the time. And LaFell, he had a couple good plays on him. He actually had a pick. I think it was either on Garoppolo or Mallet. But that basically, it's nice to see some lesser-known guys come make a statement at camp and try to earn a spot and try to be here.
Yeah, exactly. You never know. There's plenty of people that have made the Patriots practice squad that have also shown. I don't know if you guys remember Earthly Moreland. He had one bright spot in the playoffs. Dennard was considered a player that we didn't expect to be as good as he was when he came into training camp, and he ended up being a really good corner. We knew he had that talent and stuff like that, but he had problems with the issues, with the law and stuff like that. But we gave him a chance, and it happens. Kenbrell Tompkins is also one of those receivers that we saw come into camp last year. He had a lot of issues with it. I believe his rap sheet was the longest one. They had posted a picture of it online, and he had a lot of stuff that he used to do when he was younger.
Yeah. Some other good news coming out of practice today. We actually saw Tommy Kelly out in the field in a jersey. I actually didn't even really notice him out there until the end of practice when he was on the sideline. So I don't know how much he did. It looks like he was only wearing shorts and a jersey. So I'm not sure if he actually did
I believe he might have done something because he was on the sideline, on his knee, kind of holding it there, and he seemed out of breath. So I don't know if he was running there for a couple plays or did some drills. I think he might have just done some drills, some stretching. Just stay in shape. You don't want to hurt anything like Gronk's doing right now, but you also want to make sure you're out in the field and competing and stuff like that. And that's what I like to see in Tommy Kelly.
Yeah, it was definitely really good to see him out there because he hasn't been out there both the 2 days previous today. But with the uncertainty we have at the defensive tackle right now, with only really Will Fork being the big key guy, and you saw like today the first string defense was with Saliga and Will Fork.
Yeah.
That's not something I was really expecting to see. I was really expecting to see more Chris Jones out there.
Yeah, I was seeing some Chris Jones. I would have liked to see that, but like at the same time, you got to think Saliga is technically a defensive lineman and tackle, and you kind of see more Chris Jones like a defensive end kind of standpoint. But I like to see him out there. He's a young player. He had led the team in sacks for the rookies last year. You want to see some young talent out there. Where Vince is not going to be too long. Well, I hate to say it, Tommy Kelly, they're not going to be around that long. You want to have some younger talent out there, But then again, I'd rather see Vince Wilfork and Tommy Kelly than Joe Vaughn and Silverstein any day.
Agreed. So it's definitely good to see him get back in the action. Picking off a little bit from where we left off last week, yesterday. Kenbrell Tompkins, it's been a long day today. Kenbrell Tompkins has been on fire yesterday and today, and on time with almost every quarterback. He came into this week and he was kind of fighting for a roster spot, but after seeing what he's been able to do, it almost looks like he's fighting for that number 1 spot, which is definitely a good move for him because without Dobson on the field, and then he's competing with Amendola, Edelman, and Boyce, and LaFell, there's really not much he can do to improve from where he started at today. He looks almost incredible. It was insane.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard. I don't see any of our receivers, like besides Boyce and maybe Kenbrell Tompkins, that can really be cut from this team. But at the same time, you'd love to see Kenbrell Tompkins go out there and really perform to his best that he could, and that's what he needs to do in order to keep on the team. That's what he's supposed to do. Even if you have a guaranteed roster spot, Tom Brady says that every single training camp he always tries to get better. People like Tom Brady, it's kind of hard to get better than you already are. But it's all of the practice and stuff like that. You never know exactly what you could find something in the game that you've never had before, or like people like Tom Brady or maybe Vince Wilfork find something in training camp this year that they had earlier in their career and they've just found it again. You know what I'm saying? Like Tom Brady has always been struggling with the deep ball, but in practice he looks like he's gotten his arm back. But then again, it's just practice. The game situations are a little different, but you can see the accuracy is back. I remember even in training camp last year we saw that the accuracy wasn't there.
Yeah. Keeping up with more of the receivers, Amendola and Edelman both very, very impressive today. Edelman's kind of been impressive this whole camp, but Amendola diving all around kind of reminds me of what we saw a little bit in the Buffalo game, the week 1 last year, when he was diving all around, catching every ball that was thrown his way. And that it seems like so long ago that we had such a awful offense with nobody who could catch, even though it was only last year, but only from seeing in camp. So you never really know what's going to happen once the season comes around. But most of the key wide receivers that you were expecting this year have come out firing from the gate.
Yeah, and I like to see Amendola. Like we saw that earlier in the game. We saw in that Buffalo game that, this is what we're getting. This is awesome. Like I hope that he stays healthy, blah, 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 and he didn't. But you got to at least figure at this point now that you know what he's capable of, and if he can keep that going, then that'd be awesome. So, and Edelman looks like he's like just right back where he started. I feel like he's starting to realize that he is that number 1 guy, and he's trying to act like it on the field. You can see him. He kind of has that walk to him now. Like, I don't know. People are saying, like, on, like, other blogs and stuff like that, and other radio shows, they're saying you can see the walk from the player and stuff like that. Edelman has that kind of, like, cocky kind of personality. You can kind of see it. And I think he's had it for a while, when we first noticed him. I remember when it was his rookie year, that was the first year I started really going to training camp. So it was nice to see him, like, take that role, and run with it. That's a good thing we want to see. We want to show that we have that number 1 guy, and even if it's Julian Edelman, keep running with it.
Definitely. Another wide receiver that we brought in this year, Brandon LaFell, still working on the drops. I mean, it's constant with this guy. It's actually really annoying to see him, a player who I had such high hopes for coming in, to really continue to drop the ball like he did in Carolina. He actually, for the first 4 or 5 passes from any quarterbacks on the roster, he actually caught them all, which was kind of amazing because of how many drops he had yesterday. But then you saw him start to drop off. He dropped like 2 or 3 passes, and
Yeah, there's first five. I think we kind of were okay, and then there's one that kind of went over his head, but it seemed like he could have had a chance. Then one of them, Garoppolo hit him directly in the hands. Like Garoppolo couldn't have put that ball anywhere else on the field. It was a great throw by Garoppolo, and he just dropped it. And that's what you got to think about. If you drop the ball in practice against your own team, that's not good because if you're going to go against other teams that have big safeties and big corners that are going to hit you like as hard as they can, they want to try to knock you out. That's what they're supposed to do. You're not going to be able to hang on the ball if you can't hang on to it against your own teammates.
exactly. So one other thing that we saw them work on a lot today was wide receiver handoffs, almost like a reverse, but not really. It was more of just like
It seemed like, I don't know if any of you played Pop Warner football before. Do you remember when you had like the A and the C back on the sides right there, and they'd run around and take the hand off? That's what it looked like.
yeah, basically like so you'd have Edelman on the left side. He'd start to go in motion to the right, and now it would snap the ball and hand it off to him, and he'd run all the way up the side. That's basically what they worked on. You see that being a big factor in this year's game?
Not a big factor, but I'd see the receiver I would see doing the most out of that would probably be Boyce because of his speed across the field. You saw it last year, I believe, that one play he had a wide receiver reverse that he did pretty well on. It kind of reminded me of, sorry if this offends you, but when the Eric Hernandez kind of run game, like when he came off the edge from the tight end, took the handoff around. That's kind of what it reminded me of, but it was farther point, and you could see that they were going in motion. I don't see it being a big part, but it's nice to know that we do have that kind of like try to keep the playbook wide open and stuff like that. It keeps teams off balance, and that's a good thing. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure the teams can't predict exactly what plays we're going to run every game.
Yeah, one player I could also see fitting in that role. Maybe even though he's a running back, you could also see Shane Vereen because he was actually out wide a couple times last year. And then even someone like LaFell, who is struggling with his hands, but definitely has some good speed on him. I could potentially see something like that working out. But they were working on a lot of trick plays kind of like that today. They did a couple flea flickers, a bunch of deep play actions, which was crazy. Everybody getting hit pretty much in stride or having to slow down just a bit, which you kind of have seen over the past few years with Brady not being able to throw the deep ball, leading somebody as much as he used to be able to. But it's very cool that they worked on it. One other tight end that they brought in, Justin Jones. He's 6'8". He's a big guy. He makes Gronk look a little short, which is weird.
Both of them came out at the same time today. It was Gronk, Chandler Jones, and Justin Jones. And Chandler himself is like 6'5", 6'6". Gronk's about 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", 6'6". And then you see Justin Jones, who's 6'8", and he's towering over both of them. We're just like, oh my God, who is that?
Yeah. He basically what they were saying in minicamp is that he had some bad hands. He couldn't catch the ball. Everything bounced off his hand, hit the ground. Over the past few days, and more so today, we've seen some pretty decent hands. I think he had 1 or 2 drops throughout all the practice today. But if someone's willing to come in like that, Justin Jones, he took a year off. He had some type of injury. I don't remember if it was an ACL or what it was.
Former basketball player as well.
Yeah, so he's a big body who can catch the ball. Now we saw this a little bit with Sudfeld, so we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Sudfeld basically came in. He had a really good training camp. We were all very impressed by him. He played in a few preseason games, and he got cut and went to the Jets, and no one ever heard from him again.
Yeah, it was kind of upsetting to see. I remember watching Zach Sudfeld, and we're like, oh man, this is our replacement for Hernandez. We were all high hopes on him, and I don't know if that's what got him kind of in his head, but I don't see Justin Jones being a big part of our offense. He kind of is going to remind me of kind of like a Christian Foye kind of player, going to be there for like a couple of, not like have that big role, but he's going to be able to catch the ball and stuff like that, hopefully. And, even if he can be a red zone threat, or if you have him and Gronk as a 2 tight end set, and have either one of them block and go out for a pass, or have one of them stay at the line, it could fool a bunch of people if you have Justin Jones and Gronk and switch it up and have Gronk block on the play and then have Justin Jones go out for a route, and they're not going to expect that. And especially since Brady is Brady's one of those quarterbacks that likes to put the ball where nobody else can go. And having a 6'8" tight end definitely helps if you can throw it above a corner who's only about 5'11".
Yeah, it gives him plenty of room to work with. Another thing we want to touch on is some of the running backs. And it's actually very weird to say this, but almost every single one of them, except for probably one, and I can't even remember his name, has looked very good. Ridley, Vereen, Bolden, Finch, Stephen Houston, James White,
Jonas Gray is the one you're not
Jonas Gray was the one I couldn't remember his name. He hasn't shined as much, but all the other ones I could actually see them making this team,
and
which is weird.
yeah, which is what this is what happened today. You know, when you without pads, you can't really judge how good a running back is going to be. Like through the kind of drills and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to tell the running back because you can't tell exactly like what kind of routes they're running. You know, well not routes, but how they run the ball. But today, James White broke a pretty big run today that I think that would have been a big run if it wasn't teammates. You know,
My guy Brandon Bolden broke 3 or 4 runs during when they were doing 11 on 11s, and it was awesome.
The best run all day was the Brandon Bolden run where he spun off Browner and took it to the outside. I thought that was kind of good.
Yeah, Bolden showing a lot of good work they put in this offseason, which is impressive to me. But like I said, I could see all of those guys making the roster. Maybe not all as dynamic running backs on the offense, but like I said, I could see Roy Finch on the kickoff game. I could see James White on the kickoff game, and I could see Houston, Ridley, Vereen, Bolden on the running game, which is definitely an interesting aspect to look at those 4 running backs as starters, which is weird because, I mean, even though it happened last year with a mix of everybody, it's weird to think that, oh, these guys are all here again. It's going to happen again.
And you got to also think in a realistic standpoint, though, which one is going to be an impact for the team right then and there. You know, we have the Patriots. You kind of have to see which players can have a future with the team. We also got to see which players can help you right away. You know, that's what we saw in Kenbrell Tompkins and Josh Boyce last year. That's what we saw in we saw LeGarrette Blount right out of training camp do it. We saw Brandon Bolden, like he was 2 years ago. He just came out and he looked pretty strong. You know, and we were really surprised by the fact. And I remember when on our old website, Mike wrote a blog about Brandon Bolden. This kid commented on it and said, "Who the hell are you talking about? Who's Brandon Bolden will run?" 3 weeks later, Brandon Bolden runs over Stephon Gilmore, and everybody's like, "Oh, who's this Brandon Bolden guy?" You know, and that's what me and Mike actually most enjoy about training camp is finding these players that we like. And when they are on the field, we're like, "Oh, we watched this guy practice and stuff like that, and said he's going to be good and stuff like that." So the players you heard, Roy Finch, you know, we're hoping that he can one day one game bring a kickoff back for a touchdown, and Mike's going to be like, "Hi, I told you guys all about him." And, you know, maybe even with my player, like Shamil Gary had an interception today, so that's one of my players doing this stepping up. I don't know if he's still going to the roster, but you know, it's nice to see a player show up, you know, do this thing.
Definitely. As far as the quarterback play goes, it was all right today. Brady was pretty good. Mallett was still just about where he's normally been.
I feel like Mallett's just it's kind of sucks for Mallett though. Like he had such high hopes, you know. He was literally projected to be like a top 10 pick, and all of a sudden he did cocaine or whatever the hell he did. I don't know, smoke weed, you know. And all of a sudden he went down to the 3rd round, and you know he looked really good coming out of the gate, but now it's just kind of leveling off. He's not really getting better, and he's not really getting much worse. But it's kind of sad to see, you know, because he definitely could have some good trade value for a team. But, you know, no team wants a quarterback that's just going to be kind of like a steady line. They wanted it, an incline. But I think Mallett already reached his peak, to be honest, and it's kind of bad.
Yeah, and Garoppolo still looked a little nervous today. There have been multiple reports, like Mike Reese reported that there were more people at training camp today. It was packed there, by the way.
13,180, I think, or 780. But only, just think about this. At 4,000 more people equal the Boston Garden.
Yeah. So basically what they said is there were more people at the game, at the practice today, than that watched Jimmy Garoppolo play quarterback in college, which is ridiculous. So you can understand where the nerves are coming from. He's a rookie quarterback trying to compete with one of the best quarterbacks of all time in front of everybody, in front of 13,000 people.
He's not only is he competing for a backup spot against Mallett. They drafted him in the 2nd round because they believed that in a couple years he might be able to be the starter. And, you know, if it's something that people are saying, why did we waste this pick on a quarterback that you can't even play right now? But think about this: would you rather have a quarterback work 2 or 3 years under Tom Brady than start like Aaron Rodgers did with Brett Favre, or would you rather just draft a quarterback right out of the draft and hope he's going to start? You know. And maybe that's what the thing is. Maybe Bill Belichick saw in a couple years that he doesn't see any quarterbacks right now that could come out of college to be any better than Jimmy Garoppolo. And I agree. I don't see any quarterbacks this year that can give you a serious thing. There's Bryce Petty for Baylor. I'm not going to go into much detail about college football. Some people really don't care. But there's definitely some quarterbacks that are not that very good. Jameis Winston Patriots not going to be able to get Jameis Winston, so why worry about him? You know, where you can get him is where you get him, you know. And we actually thought Ryan Mallett was going to be that quarterback at one point, you know, or take a backup spot. But he ended up beating out Brian Hoyer for the backup spot. Brian Hoyer gets released, and look who's starting a game before Ryan Mallett. Most likely Brian Hoyer. Actually, Brian Hoyer did start a game before, and he actually has a good chance against starting being the team starter week 1 against my boy Johnny Manziel. But, you know, it's going to come down to with the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be able to not just get, I don't think the nerves is going to be a major issue. I think it's just going to be the fact of development of him being so nervous that he's not going to be able to develop. But you also just got to think that this is his first week ever practicing in front of a bunch of people. You know, it's overwhelming. You know, we were even overwhelmed being fans there. There were so many people there today that we were literally like this, sitting next to each other. We had to put like our elbows on our knees to just like watch a practice, and it's not used to it like yesterday where we were standing up. And the day before that we had second to back row, but we also had people there that were like, it was only Thursday, so it wasn't too packed.
Yeah. They actually just announced the total. I just looked it up. It was 13,819.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a lot of people. Basically, so yeah, you see some of his jitters there. Actually, all 3 quarterbacks threw at least 1 interception today. Arrington had an interception. The best one was Revis. Revis picked off Brady, and it was one of the better interceptions I've ever seen. He turned around and caught it one-handed and fell down to the ground, and it was awesome.
You know, and I'm afraid he caught him for longer than a year. You know, it's gonna be a special year this year to watch him play under a Patriots uniform. You know, we're so used to seeing him in a Jets uniform or a Buccaneers uniform, and I just want to see him play in a Patriot. You know, I'm so excited now. I just wanted this last day of training camp to happen, and then the open practice, whenever that is. I think it's August 1st. I'm not 100% sure, but I want that to happen, and then after that, give me a couple preseason games, you know, and then just bring the rest of the regular season. That's all.
Yeah. So like I said, they all had picks today. Very interesting to see them. The last point that I really had to talk about was Tavon Wilson getting reps at starting safety.
Yeah.
We said that yesterday, and it happened again today. It was really weird. You really expected McCourty and Chung or McCourty and Harmon. You didn't really expect Tavon Wilson. I actually expected him to get cut. I actually don't expect him to make it out of training camp, but he's been in the starting role, which is very strange.
What's surprising me the most about this is Tavon Wilson is usually a free safety. McCourty plays free safety. Tavon is playing starting strong safety right now. We have 3 other strong safeties. So I don't know if like Bill Belichick is not impressed with Harmon, or I honestly Bill Belichick has nothing to be impressed with Chung. We already cut him once, so like, and then Nate Ebner is just kind of like a special teams kind of player. But you know, it's Tavon Wilson. A lot of people are saying that this guy we had him for 3 years now. You know, he hasn't really made any impact to the team. You know, he couldn't beat out Steve Gregory last year for his starting job. You know, me and him are really rooting for him to tell Steve Gregory to get out of here. And you know, I really wish that Tavon Wilson the best of luck. I hope he makes the team. You know, I like him, but at the same time, I want the best player there playing strong safety. If that's Pat Chung, if that's Deron Harmon, I just want the best player.
Yep, and that's really all I really had to talk about today. Anything else on your mind at all?
No. Just want to let everybody know we're also going to do that tomorrow. So if you're going tomorrow, if you have the day off, or you're doing nothing else better on the Sunday, you gotta come down. Let us know. We'd be glad to watch some Patriot football. Hopefully it's not as packed as it was yesterday or today, but it probably will be. But at the same time, we're hoping some people will go to church on Sunday. So.
Yes. So basically, like you said, we're going to be down there tomorrow. If anybody wants to come down and watch with us, come find us. Let us know. We'll be down. It's awesome. I can't deal with more people sitting behind us saying Darrell Revis all day, or people not.
Somebody asked. So you know, like I don't know if anybody knows, but they're called sessions. Some girls calling it innings today, and I was like, innings really? And then there's a bunch of other people. Some guy said today. Josh McDaniels was the assistant special teams coach while he was standing next to Tom Brady.
Yeah, so I can't deal with it all the time. So I need some type of educational fans with me, educated fans. If you guys want to come down, come let us know.
Even if you're not educated, if you're like a friend of ours that we can deal with, you know, like unless you guys just want to watch, you don't even have to say anything. Just
we don't
hang out.
We don't even really talk that much to each other over there. We usually just watch, but. So yeah, like we said, just let us know. Maybe we'll have someone on the show. If anybody comes down with us tomorrow, maybe we'll have you guys on the show. But other than that, that's really all I wanted to talk about. We'll do our quick social media thing: Facebook.com/BeantownSports5. Twitter at BeantownSports5, at Masala_bro, at JTAlden11, BeantownSports.sportsblog.com. That's the first time I've been able to do that all in one shot. That's awesome. We're going to be there tomorrow. More
Yes.
Patriots football.
Yes, we are.
More Patriots football. Just what we need. This is the best time of year.
Especially when the Red Sox suck. It's the best time of the year.
Yes. So let's get it going. Let's have a good time. Everybody, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Thank you for watching.
Thank you very much.